Your daughter's autism doesn't look like the autism on TV, and there's a reason for that. The diagnostic criteria for autism built on research from boys, decades of it. And when you study mostly boys, you get a picture built almost entirely from male presentations. So when you look at your daughter who doesn't line up her toys, who makes eye contact, who's quiet and polite and helpful, nobody refers her for evaluation. Not because she's less autistic, but because this whole system was built to catch a different kind of autistic kid. Here's what's actually happening and why everyone missed it. I'm John. I'm a dad of a twice exceptional daughter who was diagnosed at age 3. Now, I have to be honest with you, even after her diagnosis at age 3, it took us time to understand what she actually needed. The way big feelings would hit her out of nowhere, the way certain sounds and textures would just wreck her, the way she'd seem fine all day at home and then fall apart the moment we asked her to do something she wasn't expecting. We were doing everything right, and it still took time to piece it together. If you've been in that same spot, this video is for you. Here's the problem. The diagnostic criteria for autism, the DSM, was developed using research on boys, predominantly boys, and that shaped everything that came after. The screening tools, the way pediatricians are trained, the way schools evaluate kids. So what does autism look like according to that template? Well, boys who line up toys instead of playing with them, boys who flap their hands, boys who have narrow, intense interests in systems and structures, boys who are noticeably, visibly different from their peers. Notice who I'm describing? All boys, almost entirely. Here's what autism often looks like in girls. They learn to mask. Earlier, faster, better than anyone expects. They watch other girls socialize and they study it like a foreign language. They learn the scripts. They practice eye contact in the mirror. They develop what's called social camouflaging, consciously performing the version of normal even when it costs them everything. And because it looks normal from the outside, nobody refers them for evaluation. Nobody sees the effort underneath. This is why autism in girls is consistently diagnosed later. Research shows parents notice concerns at roughly the same age for boys and girls, but girls get diagnosed years later, sometimes 4, 5, sometimes 10 years later. Not because girls are less autistic, because girls are better at hiding it. The system didn't fail to see your daughter because nothing was wrong. It failed to see her because the system was built from the wrong sample. So what does autism in girls actually look like? Number 1, intense, narrow interests that look like normal girly stuff. A girl who's obsessed with horses or a specific TV show or a celebrity, that's just being a fan, right? But when that interest is all-consuming, when she can't talk about anything else, when the structure of her entire day revolves around it, that's not a hobby, that's a restricted interest. It just looks different than trains and dinosaurs. Number 2, social mimicking. Autistic girls will often study how other kids interact and then copy those interactions. It looks like they're doing fine socially, but underneath, they're running a constant calculation. Am I doing this right? What am I supposed to say next? That cognitive load is enormous, and it shows up later as social exhaustion or shutdown. Number 3, anxiety is the presenting symptom. A lot of autistic girls are first diagnosed with anxiety, and they do have anxiety, but it's often secondary to the underlying autism. The social navigation, the effort of camouflaging, the sensory overload they can't articulate, it creates massive anxiety. Treating the anxiety without recognizing the autism is like treating a fever without knowing there's an infection. Number 4, eating disturbances. This one is huge and almost never talked about. Autistic girls frequently develop highly restricted diets based on sensory preferences, specific textures, colors, temperatures. This isn't pickiness, this is sensory driven, and it frequently gets misdiagnosed as ARFID or just being difficult. Number 5, the shutdown instead of the meltdown. Boys with autism often have obvious explosive meltdowns, and that gets noticed. Girls are more likely to go inward, go quiet, and dissociate. It looks like they're fine. It looks like compliance. But it's not compliance. It's a nervous system in distress that has learned that outward distress makes things worse. Here's the part that nobody talks about. If you recognize 3, 4, maybe 5 of those signs just now, I need you to hear this. Your daughter isn't broken. She's not broken. She's been surviving in an environment that wasn't built for her brain. And the sooner we understand what she actually needs, the sooner we can stop expecting her to perform normalcy at the cost of her well-being. 2 things you can start doing today. Number 1, look for the cost of masking. Here's how to spot camouflaging. Watch your daughter after school, after a birthday party, after church, after anything social. If she seems fine in the moment but then falls apart an hour later, if big feelings hit out of nowhere, if she goes nonverbal or shuts down or just seems completely drained, that's not a normal behavioral problem. That's a nervous system that's been holding it together under pressure, and it ran out of fuel. What you're seeing is the cost of masking. It looks like nothing from the outside. It feels like everything from the inside. And number 2, trust your parental instinct over the system's timeline. Here's something the research is clear on. Parents notice autism at roughly the same age for boys and girls. The gender gap in diagnosis isn't a gap in parental awareness. It's a gap in professional recognition. So if you've brought your concerns to your pediatrician and it's been dismissed, if you've been told let's wait and see, I want you to know the research does not support that approach. Girls without intellectual disability are significantly less likely to receive a clinical diagnosis even when they meet the full autism criteria. The problem is not your daughter being autistic enough. The problem is the criteria. Keep asking, keep pushing. Find someone who knows what autism in girls actually looks like. If you've watched this video and thought, wow, that sounds like my daughter, trust that instinct. You're not imagining it. You're not overreacting. You're seeing something that's been invisible to everyone else. Share this with another mom who's been told she's just anxious or she's just shy. Tag a friend who needs to see this. Let's pay it forward to the next family.